Hi there, I'm Miranda Marshall, and welcome to the Joy of Engineering. Today, our master painter Richard has a very special piece that he wants to create with you. We are about to embark on a creative journey inspired by the innovative design and technology with a pretty good house. So, without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our master engineer, Richard.
Thanks Miranda, and welcome everyone. Before I start, I just want to extend an invitation for you to grab your paints, some brushes, and paint along with me today, and hopefully you'll learn something about the house I'm creating and its sustainability. Let's start off today by running all the colors across the screen that you'll need to paint along with me today. While they're doing that, let me explain what I got going on up here. We have a small 14x20 pre-stretched primed canvas board, and I've coated it with a very thin coat, and I mean a very thin coat, of slow dry medium. And I've already gone ahead and did a little bit of the landscape we're going to have. Just a little blue sky, some fluffy clouds, and the indication of a field, kind of similar to the ones you see here in Urbana. Now, let me be clear about something. You don't want too much of the sky in your painting, kind of like how you don't want too much carbon dioxide in the air. If you do put in too much, it's not a problem. Just take some titanium white on a fan brush and just clean the bottom a bit with some wispy cloud shapes. Since we got the landscape set, let's start by working on the house itself. So, what you want to do to start off is take your palette knife and just mix in some Prussian blue, phthalo green, Mars black, and a little bit of red until it's a consistent dark color. And then using the edge of your knife with a bead of paint, mark out where you want to start building your house. We just want simple shapes right now. We'll come back in later with a brush and pull this color in to make the shadows. Now, let me be clear about something as I'm painting. Your house and my house are going to look completely different, and that's okay. There's a lot of factors that go into making a pretty good house, such as how big you want it, what kind of climate you live in, and how much you want to spend on utilities. For a house like this, we estimated at about 3,019 square feet of wall area, with a roof area of about 2,612 square feet, while keeping the indoor flooring to about 1,600 square feet. That's usually the average for a house like this. Okay. Now, since we're building this house in Urbana, we want to have a little bit of insulation, since it gets pretty cold here. Let's say this house has at least 8-inch walls with an insulation value of R32. That's a pretty good value for trapping heat, and it's good for those winter months when it gets pretty cold. If you look at the bottom of the screen, we'll show you the equation we use to find a heat loss for any part of the house, for any size, and for any season. You can also use this equation to find it for the cooling months. Let's use this past winter, where it got a good 28 degrees Fahrenheit on average. And you want the inside of the house to be a toasty 72 degrees. If you use our equation, you'll probably have a heat loss a little over negative 2,800 kilowatt hours, and that's for the walls alone. You still have the roofing and foundation, which together makes up at least 2,000 kilowatt hours respectively. And that's a lot of heat gone, and you'll be shivering your butt off. This is why we have heat pumps. Now, depending on where you live, it's going to cost you somewhere around $4,000, but it's going to be worth it for warmth. So let's just add that in right now, right there in the back of the house, a little gray and brown box giving us the heat we need. And let's get a few pipes in there just to get the heat around the house. Later on, we're actually going to add in a water heater because we also need hot water. Because, do you want to take a cold shower? I didn't think so. Okay, now that we have the base of the house made, the heater's attached, and we're going to add a water pump later, let's add in something that's important to our own health, a ventilation unit. For this house, I'm going to give it a serve unit. It's a type of ventilation unit that comes with all sorts of bells and whistles that help it keep sustainable. It can not only filter the air, but also heat and cool it depending on the season. That's right, this thing can actually take some stress off of your own heater, or replace it if you're that bold. So let's add in that right now. Let's take a little titanium white and a little phthalo blue on the palette knife, and just define it where it's going to sit. Let's say it sits right there in the middle of the house in a crawl space. Later on, we're actually going to add some duct work, and that duct work is actually going to be important since we need to filter out the air from the outside and the inside. Now, if you go into your house right now, you're probably going to find something completely different. It's called an HRV unit, and it's an okay unit, but it's not sustainable. Here's why. every person on average releases about 0.016 moles of carbon dioxide every minute. And that carbon dioxide accumulates in the house. There's no easy way to get rid of it. Let's say you want to keep the carbon dioxide concentration to about 620 parts per million. If you use the equation we're going to show you here on screen, you probably need about a filtration rate of about 1630 liters per minute or 58 cubic feet per minute of air in the house. That doesn't seem bad, but remember, that's only one person. This house I'm designing is for 5 people. And multiply that cubic feet per minute by 5, and you get a value of almost 300 cubic feet per minute. And that's not even accounting for all the volatile air chemicals you're going to find in the house as well. So let's say the phthalo green I'm adding right here represents the foul air coming from your toilet. The brown ochre is going to be the smoke coming from your kitchen. The yellow ochre I'm going to be adding in a little later is going to represent the leftover smell of chicken soup or fish. And the red is going to be either hot steam or carbon dioxide from the bathroom. Yes, even steam is a volatile air chemical. It can cause a lot of problems if you're not careful. This is why the HRV isn't sustainable. It can't automatically filter out these chemicals without being at a high rate all the time. The serve, on the other hand, it can actually be set to a specific limit. No matter what happens in the house, it's always going to keep it at that limit or below that. And while the serve is twice as expensive, it's actually a very good investment for a 15-year plan. If you take a look on the screen right here, you can actually see the cost it takes to manage it for 15 years, depending on ductwork and filtration units, and also the savings you get compared to the HRV after 15 years. We can use these to find the return on interest, which is roughly about 3.5%. While it's not a big number, it's definitely better than a negative value, and that's what we don't want. Same with the net present value, which we can show with this equation here. It depends on where you live, but for our case, we actually estimated the net present value to be about $6,044.18 after 15 years. So no matter what happens in that house, you're going to have saved a lot of money over the course of 15 years, and you're going to have one happy and healthy family no matter what. So now that we got everything installed, the serves running and the heaters working, let's finally close this house off with some walls and a roof. Let's make it a greenhouse, pun intended. So let's take a little titanium white and mix it with a touch of phthalo green and a touch of deep green to get that minty color to it. And using the palette knife, we're just going to drag it gently across areas where you want there to be roofing or walls. We just want a nice definition and keep the dark areas where the corners are. Now don't be discouraged if you accidentally get some into the corners. We can always go back in with the dark mixture on our palette and just tidy it up later on. As the man once said, we don't make mistakes, just happy accidents. So once we got that paint down, we can go in with a 2-inch brush right here and just blend it in with the dark colors. And as you can see, because we put so much utilities inside, it's all going to blend together and give us a nice, pretty good house right on the canvas. Just like that. And as you can see right here, starting with the corners of the roof, I'm going back in with a little bit of the dark mixture just to redefine the edges and give that house a bit more of a 3-dimensional feel. Just tap it in, just like that. And what we can also do is actually use this to define a garage, because where are you going to put your car in the winter? Definitely not in the middle of the house, that's for sure. So now we're going back in with our palette knife and a bit of Mars Black to define the windows. Just mark out where you want the windows to be, and just carefully add the paint to the house as needed. Yeah, we're gonna put a little window right here. Why not? Let's be creative today. We need a lot of ventilation just in case our serve unit fails us. And windows are so nice to have. They offer natural light. They can also give us a cool breeze in case we need it. and it's just nice to have in general. I mean, who doesn't want a house with windows? So let's define these windows a little bit more. Right now, as you can see off screen, I'm actually about to use some titanium white to define the window sills. That's all you need to define these windows. Just a little titanium white right on the palette knife, and just mark it in. Now as you can see, I used a little too much, so use it sparingly, I say. But that's okay. This is your house. You can make it however you want, mistakes and all. And that's what I'm going to do right here. So now let's add in a driveway. Just a little mixture of Prussian blue and Mars black just to define a driveway. Because what's a house without a driveway? How are you gonna get your car from your work to your house? You're certainly not gonna park it on the street, that's for sure. And while we're at it, we're just gonna add in a bit more detail to the foundation, just like that. And then we're gonna use the corner of the brush with that same dark mixture to define a doorway and a gravel way to your driveway. It's just that simple. So our house is coming along nicely. However, there's one more utility we can add to really push the sustainability: solar panels. So how do we do that? Well, it's simple. We'll just take some Prussian blue, a little Mars black, and a little alizarin crimson, let's get crazy, and just mix it on with a palette knife, and with the edge of your knife, mark out where you want to put it. Let's put it right there on the side of the house. Let's assume, to get the most amount of sunlight for this panel, let's assume it's facing the south. And it might not look like much now, but you'll see in a few minutes, once we add a little bit of titanium white, we can actually define the edges and the separations in the panel. Because believe it or not, solar panels are actually individual smaller panels instead of bigger ones. And they're really nice. They've actually been shown to help reduce a lot of energy bills. Some studies actually say they reduce it to about 62% in some cases. So let's say the electricity load for this house was about 6,000 kilowatt hours. For a place like Urbana, you're looking at about $540 a year just for heating, cooling, and ventilation. That $540 can actually be reduced to $335 annually if you use a solar panel. So these solar panels are good. They're a really good investment, just like a serve. But let me be clear, they're not your key to go off-grid. They're only there to help you reduce your need in the electric grid. A little funny story, my dad actually owns a property in Puerto Rico, and he has these same solar panels on the roof of our house. They're really good, really nice clean energy with a battery, but the problem is, Puerto Rico has rainstorms in the afternoons, so sometimes the panels don't charge, and there was actually one incident where he actually lost power when he was doing laundry, so he had to pull out the old gas generator and get it done that way. So remember, these panels are only meant to help reduce your need in the grid. They're not meant to be a purely clean source. So the major house is finished at this point, and we're just doing some tidying up work at this point. Let's put in a little happy tree right there. Just using the dark colors we used earlier, we're just gonna make a little happy tree and just define a few things about the house that we didn't do earlier. Maybe some bushes right there. Yeah, that'll really sell this house to being in a natural place. Right, just like that. All you just gotta do is use the natural curve of the bristles to define your shapes. It's that easy. And now I'm just mixing. Yeah, you probably can't see this right now, but I'm just mixing the colors off screen, and I'm coming in with a nice greenish yellow mixture just to give the tree some definition. We're gonna add it to the bushes, and we're also gonna adding some brown to that mixture later just to define the tree trunk, and also going to be using it to help define the overall brush around the driveway, because sometimes there's dead brush that happens when you're not too careful. Little splotches of dirt happen, you know how it is. And so far it's looking pretty good. This is a nice house we're making, but I think we can go better. Right now I'm just adding in a little bit of definition to the garage door and using that same fan brush and the titanium white just to define the shingles, because isn't there anything more weird than a smooth roof on your house? I didn't think so. And right here you can actually see I'm actually making a little doorway hood. And there you have it, my friends. a pretty good house built in Urbana, Illinois. And always remember, no matter where you put it, you always got to keep in mind of your own needs for this house. And always remember to sign your work. We want people to know that this house was made by you. Before I sign off, I just want to give a special shout out to Dr. Leon Labenberg for giving us the tools for this project. And from all of us here at the School of Engineering and the University of Illinois, I wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friends.